Hi beautiful friends, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be discussing some of my favorite summer and beachy thriller reads. These are ones that if I was going to the beach or I was just looking to have a seasonal read or something that just felt great for the summertime, these are some of my favorite thrillers that I would recommend. So we're gonna go ahead and hop in. Most of these I did check out from my library, so I will be popping pictures on screen as I go. And let's go ahead and start with one of the newest reads, which is an arc I read called Dead of Summer by Jessa Maxwell. So this one I believe is coming out in July. I will put the exact release date on screen. But Jessa Maxwell did it again. This is a fantastic, really compelling thriller. You read 3 different points of views. You read Faith's perspective, and she is engaged to a very wealthy fiance, and she's going to be spending time at their summer home on this island and kind of getting to know the family, which doesn't go amazingly. There's a lot of drama and stuff. Then we're reading from one woman's perspective as she returns home, and as a teenager she lost one of her friends on the island. Her friend was believed to have drowned, and she's just having a lot of emotional struggles coming back. And then we're reading from this older man's perspective, and he was actually a suspect in the teenage girl's disappearance, but he was never convicted. He still lives on this island. So you got 3 different perspectives. It's super compelling. I flew through this. I ate it up. The island setting, I think, is just perfect for summer, and the writing was so good. I loved how the present timeline and the cold case from the past were interwoven, and I loved all 3 characters. I thought they were very interesting, so I would really recommend that. As for one that I recently read and I just adored is A Flicker in the Dark by Stacy Willingham. Now this book has been out for a while. I'm sorry if you can hear birds chirping outside of my window. It's been raining and they're really, really excited today. I don't know. I hope it's not coming up on camera, but can't do much about it. A Flicker in the Dark. So our main character in this is Chloe Davis, and as a teen girl, there started to be disappearances in her small town of other teenage girls, and by the end of that summer, her father was arrested for their murders or disappearances. And now as an adult, she is a psychologist. She's really going through it. She is engaged, so she's trying to create a more positive, happy future for herself. But then a similar crime happens in the same area, and it seems too coincidental. And this leaves her questioning, did her father have an accomplice? What is going on? This was brilliant. So she's wondering this whole time, is she paranoid, seeing parallels that don't exist? Is she going to unmask a killer for the 2nd time in her life? What is going on? And I loved it. I ate this up. This book was so good. It's my favorite Stacy Willingham so far. I've read 3. This is my favorite so far. Don't Tell by Mary Stone and Matt Griegerich. This one I recommend for summer because it takes place at a camp, which feels very summery to me. This is the cover here. So our main character doesn't trust anybody. That's our first premise. Not after her dad abandoned her, and not after the toxic affair with her high school teacher, and not after an attack that nearly killed her. She works with troubled teens at this camp, teenage girls, and one day one of the teenage girls goes missing, and this starts to unravel everything that this woman has known for years. There's this camper named Amanda who starts to really rub salt in some of the wounds in her personal life, and then a girl goes missing from the camp in a very similar way to a cold case years ago that was never solved. So many tropes I love. The camp setting in the wilderness makes it a perfect summer read in my book. Famous Last Words by Gillian McAllister. This one does take place during the summer. It's very, very hot. It takes place specifically on June 21st. And our main character is Camilla, and she is a new mother. She is returning back to work for the first time since giving birth. And it's been quite a while. She's, excited, nervous, lots of emotions. But the police show up at her work to tell her that her husband is involved in a hostage situation. Except he's the one holding people hostage. I have never passed out from pure emotional reasons, but I think that would be the day I would absolutely just hit the floor. I don't even know. Terrible situation. So they're trying to talk to her and interview her and get as much information as they can about the husband so that they can try to negotiate for the hostage's safety. And this book went in so many different ways and places that I didn't expect, but I could not put it down. It wasn't my usual read, but it was really entertaining, and this was all about what kind of secrets could people in your life be keeping from you. Very much a domestic psychological thriller. I couldn't put it down. It was so good. The Return of Ellie Black by Emiko. I will never stop recommending this book. I love this book. This book, I'm still thinking about it over a year later. This one I received last May, so it's over a year later and I'm still just thinking about this book. So our primary character in this is Detective Chelsea Calhoun, and years ago her sister disappeared in the woods under mysterious circumstances, and so have a few other girls. There seems to be kind of a string of disappearances. Well, one day one of those girls is found in the woods. This is Ellie Black, so not her sister but one of the kind of similar cases, and she's trying to get information to help Ellie Black and also to see if she can try to find these other girls, get answers about her sister, you know, what's going on. But Ellie Black will not say a word. And this is, of course, super frustrating to the detective. She's trying to figure out who Ellie might be protecting, or if she's afraid of someone. She's trying to get answers about her sisters and the other girls that have disappeared, and she's trying to protect the next girl who may go missing, because it seems like it's a continuing crime. I couldn't put this down. The ending for this, I flabbergasted multiple times. Truly was so impressed with this, and it's a debut thriller too, and I was like, I cannot wait to see what else this author comes up with, because this was phenomenal. That's Not My Name by Megan Lally. Now this is the only one that I think is technically a young adult thriller. However, the writing, the intensity, everything like that makes it feel very, like, I wasn't wanting for anything. So you have two different perspectives you're reading from here. You have one teen girl who wakes up on the side of the road, like, badly kind of injured. A police officer picks her up. She's at the station and her father arrives, except she has no memory of him being her father. Like, she has no memory at all. So she just has to kind of trust that this man is her father because he's got the documentation to prove it, and so she goes home with him. But the more she kind of is there, she's like, am I really home? I don't know. And then the other perspective is reading from this young, like, teen boy's perspective when his girlfriend Lola stomped out of the car one night when they were on a date, never to be seen again in this small town. And the whole small town has turned on him, looked at him like he's some awful person who did something to her, and he is continuing to look for his girlfriend. I tell you, the title gives me chills to this day. Gives me chills. Yeah, I would strongly recommend this. It was a very intense, twisty read. I read it in one day. I loved it. The Midnight Feast by Lucy Foley. I love Lucy Foley. If you enjoy multiple points of views, if you enjoy messy, like, rich people drama, this one is really good. The Midnight Feast involves this, like, luxury resort that's being built in the middle of the woods, and this is called the Manor. It's this new countryside retreat. You're reading from multiple perspectives, including a guest who's undercover, an employee, different people who are running the place. It's super fascinating, and things start to happen while the guests are there for, like, the soft opening. And you know from the start that a body is found at the solstice supper that's going to be happening during this opening weekend in midsummer, and you're reading to the events leading up to it. I love Lucy Foley. She's so twisty and fun and, like, dramatic, and I'm here for it. Another one I really adored was One Perfect Couple by Ruth Ware. This one is actually kind of a reality TV show thriller with a domestic thriller element, because it's all about these couples who are on the TV show. So if you are a fan of Agatha Christie's and then there were none, or that kind of trope where people are dying one by one and, like, trapped in an isolated setting, this is for you. There are 5 couples on the show. They're on this, like, island. They are trapped together when this huge tropical storm hits, and they are just fighting to survive, and then people start to die one by one. And different, like, alliances and, like, things start to happen where people are fighting for survival and stealing supplies, and it is so intense. I really enjoyed it. Very much a psychological thriller. I had a great time with it, so I would really recommend that. I think that's a great summer read. Another one I really like for the summer is Darling Girls by Sally Hepworth. It says revenge is sweet. The cover alone gives me summer vibes. So in this one, you're reading from multiple perspectives. These are these 3 foster sisters, Jessica, Nora, and Alicia, and for as long as they can remember, they've been told they're lucky, because even though they were foster children, they were adopted by Miss Fairchild, who had this beautiful home and this beautiful swimming pool and the resources to care for them, allegedly. Now, fair warning, I mean, I would look up trigger warnings in general, but this one involves a lot with kids, so please keep that in mind. But now as adults, they are called back to Miss Fairchild's home because she has passed away, and the 3 of them ran away from Miss Fairchild together in an act of desperation to get away. Years later, the police asked them to come back to Miss Fairchild's home because, and they're adults now, because there's been a body discovered under the home. And you're finding out why. So you're reading from past timelines, what happened to them during their foster years, and current timelines. This is messy. This is really dark. but it was a very compelling read that I did really enjoy and thought was very twisty and very engaging. The Night Swim by Megan Goldin. I absolutely love this. So this is actually a series. There are 2 books out. I've read both. I recommend both for the summer especially. But The Night Swim is the first book, and this is a Rachel Cross mystery series. She is a true crime podcaster who's very famous nationwide, and one day there's this note on her car, and she's not used to being recognized in public. She's got a very distinct voice, but physically people don't tend to recognize her since she's a podcaster. But she finds a note on her car begging for help. And in this small town, there is a huge trial going on because this Goldin boy, who's bound to be an Olympic swimmer, has been accused of essaying a beloved daughter of the sheriff in town. And this trial is going on, and she's trying to uncover clues about it. She's trying to find out what really happened. The ending for this had me in a chokehold. This is super emotional. It is a very heavy thriller because it does feel like a more realistic thriller versus like One Perfect Couple by Ruth Ware, which is, you know, this crazy reality TV kind of thriller. This one does feel very like hard-hitting, could happen, probably has happened, something along these lines, I'm sure. But I did really enjoy it, and I think that Rachel is a phenomenal character, and I did really enjoy book 2 as well, Dark Corners, which takes place I think in Florida. So again, kind of a good summary read. The House in the Pines by Anna Reyes. This book messed with me. This is a psychological thriller, and years ago her best friend died under very mysterious circumstances, but it wasn't considered like foul play. Nothing really came of it, but the girl, the main character, now a woman, is convinced otherwise. And this very similar incident with someone she suspected, Frank, of the original crime or doing something to her friend somehow. This like video of him goes viral where he's in a room with another girl who ends up dying, and that's when she returns home and she's determined to get back her hazy memories and figure out what happened. The trope and the ending and kind of reveal for this and what was like playing at all of it terrified me. This was personally something I'm super scared of, so it really got to me. But I think the writing was really great. Very much a slow burn, so keep that in mind. It's a very slow burn, intense psychological thriller, but I think the payoff was really worth it. Next we have one by Megan Miranda. This is called Daughter of Mine. Beautiful lake on the cover, which gives me the summer vibes. Our main character is Hazel, and she returns back to the small town where she has 2 estranged brothers to settle her father's estate. Her father was a sheriff. Her mother had long disappeared when she was a kid or like teenager, and she's settling her father's home, her father's estate, and things start to happen. And the lake kind of near their home has been slowly like losing water, like the levels have been going down over the years. And her mother's car has been found in the lake. And this opens a whole can of worms. So I'm going to leave it at that. The less you know going in, the better. But I thoroughly enjoyed this. I think Megan Miranda is a phenomenal writer. And I loved the small town secrets. And you guys can tell I have a bit of a type. I love a good cold case. I love it being solved years later and just like coming to that character growth that they were having and just finally getting that answer. I think that is so satisfying. It's one of my favorite tropes in thrillers and mysteries, is like a cold case being solved in present day, so highly recommend that one. I've Got My Eyes on You by Mary Higgins Clark. This one maybe leans a little more mystery than thriller, but I still want to include it because it does involve high schoolers who are celebrating their graduation and one of their bodies is found in a swimming pool. However, someone might have seen something. So our main character in this is Aline. She is 28 years old and she's a counselor at a local high school. Her sister Carrie is the one who's found dead in the pool, but she is fully dressed. And this is the morning after like a big high school like party that she probably wasn't supposed to be throwing. Her parents are devastated, she's devastated, and her boyfriend, Carrie's boyfriend, is an immediate suspect. But Aline doesn't think he did it, so she starts to look into it, and she also wonders, did anyone see anything that night? This was one of my favorite Mary Higgins Clarks. I thought it was a really, really suspenseful mystery, very fast-paced, really easy to get into, and just one that does take place kind of on the cusp of like late spring going into summer, post-graduation. I really enjoyed it. All the Dangerous Things by Stacy Willingham. This one, again, very strong trigger warnings for anything regarding children of that sort. But our main character in this one is a wife we're reading from. Her and her husband one night were asleep while their 1-year-old son Mason was in his crib in the room like over, and he's taken from his crib in the middle of the night. There's like no evidence, no signs of what happened to him. They can't really find out what happened to him. It's a year later and she is so sleep deprived. She can't sleep except for these micro naps and she is just falling apart very understandably. Her husband and her aren't doing well, and she starts to look for more answers when a true crime podcaster approaches her with questions about that night. Very gripping, very, very dark and heavy, but a great read. I was absolutely enthralled with the mystery and the twists and turns this took. I did not see parts of this coming. I thought it was a really great read. Safe and Sound by Laura McHugh. This one I thought was really interesting. This one involves a lot about small town dynamics and hidden secrets within families and small towns. We have two sisters who are being babysat one night by their older cousin who is downstairs, and they're found okay. But when their parents come home, they discover there's blood all over the kitchen and the downstairs area, and their cousin is gone. They have no idea what happened to her. She was just on the cusp of leaving town. And this has to do a lot with the idea that girls especially are not able to break out of these small town like customs and like ideas of what women should be doing with their lives after high school, like maybe just getting married and having children right away instead of pursuing college or other routes, which both are fine, of course, but they're not really given that option within the small town. It's really like, this is the path, that's what you do. And so a lot of people start to wonder, was this cousin getting too big for her britches? Like, was she, she was really pursuing college and ready to get out of there. Did someone want her to stay? And there was some kind of altercation. What happened? The ending for this it messed with me. It really messed with me. It's a really dark ending, but I did like this. The story then jumps a few years into the future when these sisters are actually about the same age as the cousin. They're about to graduate high school, looking into trying to get out of the town, and that's when they realize some of the things their cousin was up against, and they start to wonder, did that have something to do with what happened to her? And they start to really look into it because her body was never found, but with the amount of blood everywhere, it's assumed that she was murdered probably. So this one really creeps me out. Very fascinating look at small town drama and like expectations and traditions that are put on people, and I really found that to be fascinating. Look in the Mirror by Catherine Steadman. If you're looking for a crazy, zany, like, wow kind of read, this one really got me. Our main character, basically she's an adult, her father passes away, and she finds out from his will that he had this house, this huge like mansion on like an island that she had no idea about. Like, her father was doing well for himself, but she had no idea. So she flies out there, she goes to this home, and it's super nice. Like, her father was an architect. I think he like designed the place. She can see touches of him everywhere, which is cool. But she goes and there is this room that's locked that she can't get into. And our main character, Nina, starts to question, like, what else was her father keeping from her? Why did he never tell her about this vacation property? That we're reading from Maria's perspective. She's an ambitious medical student, and she nannies for the super rich. That's how she's getting her way through school. She only has to do one more gig before she will finally make enough money to support herself. However, the family never shows, and the agency she works for, it's kind of like they just tell her to stay there, like they'll show up, and she starts to enjoy the pool and the luxuries there, and then things start to happen. This one really got me. This one was very, very creepy, very like claustrophobic feeling, but very intense, like very much a white knuckle read. Home is Where the Bodies Are by Jeneva Rose. I read this in May and I adored this. I did put together part of the ending, but most of it really shocked me. Basically, we have three estranged siblings who are coming together after their mother's death. Their father disappeared when they were like teens, and while they're going through their mother's belongings in her home, they discover this VHS tape. This VHS tape implicates their father in a really bloody crime that happened right before his disappearance all those years ago. And the siblings start to look into this, especially the one who was really close to the mother. She's the eldest. She was really just devastated by this and really wants some answers. And you are reading again from some multiple perspectives, multiple siblings. You get to read bits from like the mother's journal from the past, which I found very interesting. And just the ending for this, the conclusion, oh, like just ripped my heart out. It was so intense. Again, this was one that I read so quickly, couldn't put it down. I really recommend it. Next I have What Lies in the Woods by Kate Alice Marshall. This one involves our main character, Naomi, who was attacked in the woods as a child, and she identified the man who did it, putting him behind bars. Her old friends reach out to her, and she comes back to the small town to try to connect with them, and they start to discover remains in the woods where they used to play their goddess game. It was like this imaginary game they did. So they find the skeleton in the woods and they start to realize, was there more to this game? And they start to look into it, and it's so gripping. Wow. Really, really intense. Again, like a cold case being solved from the past, the main character kind of coming to grips with what happened. The woodsy setting gives it really summery vibes for me, and I thought this was super well written, very twisty. The Hacienda by Isabel Canas. This is a book that kind of combines Mexican Gothic with Rebecca, is how the blurb described it. I love Rebecca, I've read it many times. Haven't read Mexican Gothic yet, so I can't speak to that. But our main character in this basically decides that she's going to marry well. She wants to marry wealthy. She wants to secure her future financially. So she marries this man who has a very dubious reputation because his first wife died, and he's kind of a suspect in what happened to her. Like, he was never charged with anything, but it's a lot of people like kind of look at him suspiciously. She arrives there at the Hacienda. This one does border a little bit into like horror, and the house itself is like a character in the book. The Hacienda is this gorgeous estate, and she arrives and it's like she cannot relax. Like, there are so many creepy things happening. There are these eerie noises, and even the husband's sister who lives on the premises will not sleep in the house overnight because scary things happen. So you get to learn more about, you know, did the husband do anything to the first wife? What happened? What is the Hacienda? This book was really intense, really deep read, had a bit of a romantic subplot that was interesting, and I mean, it was horrifying in multiple ways, but I was absolutely gripped. I think Isabel Canas is a fantastic writer. Couldn't put it down. Lastly, I have All Good People here by Ashley Flowers. This one's kind of loosely based on the John Benet Ramsey case. Our main character in this one is a young woman who comes back to her childhood home after many years. She's an investigative reporter, and she's taking care of her uncle who has dementia. And across from her is where the crime had happened when she was a child. January Jones was a 6-year-old like beauty queen, and she was found dead in her home. Now, they were never sure, was it murder, was it an accident? Like, they could never really prove anything. The working theory is that there's like an intruder, but our main character starts to really look into this case and try to get answers for herself after all these years, and it takes her down so many rabbit holes. There are many similarities, I think, to the actual true crime case, which in itself is really hard to read, but the author does like a good job during the second half of the book, really making it, I think, more of her own story, making it a more unique, distinctive story. And the ending did really catch me off guard. I will say it did feel a little rushed, but I did think this was a strong debut from this author, and I would look forward to reading more from her. And that wraps it up for me today, guys. Please let me know, what is your favorite summery thriller? What do you like to read for like a beachy read, whether it takes place in summer or a vacation home, tropical island, a beach, whatever. I would love to hear your thoughts on that. I hope this video was helpful for you.